Well, it's the 18th day of the Iran war, and tonight we ask a fundamental question. Was this escalation in the Gulf really a surprise, or was it failure of judgment at the highest levels? US President Donald Trump says Iran's retaliation against Gulf nations was unexpected, that nobody saw it coming. But that claim is now under serious scrutiny because intelligence inputs, strategic assessments, and even America's own allies had been warning of exactly this scenario. In fact, sources reveal that US intelligence had clearly flagged the possibility that Iran could strike US's regional partners. It wasn't guaranteed, but it was very much on the table. So did the White House underestimate Iran's intent, or did it misunderstand its capability? Even more troubling is that this raises a bigger question about decision-making. If the risks were known, if the warnings were clear, then why was the fallout described as a shock by the US president? Was this strategic miscalculation? Was it intelligence failure? Or was this political messaging overtaking ground realities? Because in war, surprises can be very, very costly, and we're seeing it play out 18 days long now. But ignored warnings, they are even worse. They can be even more dangerous. And I talk about these warnings because there are reports that are now suggesting that pre-war intelligence clearly warned Donald Trump that key US allies in the Gulf could be targeted if Iran retaliated. The White House was also briefed on the risk of a wider regional escalation before the strikes began. Even the possibility of Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz had been highlighted much in advance. And yet, Donald Trump says, despite all of these warnings, that the scale of Iran's retaliation seems to have caught him by surprise. And that raises fresh questions about America's preparedness and strategy, or the lack thereof, going into this war.
It's a big chess game at a very high level. It's a very high level chess, the highest. And I'm dealing with very smart players. These are smart people. They don't get there. You know, when you deal with some of these people, you're dealing with high level intellect, very high IQ people. Nobody, no. The greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit. They were, I wouldn't say friendly countries. They were like neutral. They lived with them for years. Peter, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel with their nuclear weapon. But after we knocked out their nuclear potential weapon, they started building missiles, thousands and thousands of missiles.
So was Donald Trump blindsided, or did he choose to not see what was coming? Was just blind to the writing on the wall? Iran has been hitting hard since the first strike on Tehran on the 28th of February. So far, 3,000 plus total strikes have occurred in the entire region since February 28th. 300 plus ballistic missiles have been fired at UAE alone. There are several US assets that are there, all of which have been targeted. Unfortunately, civilian areas have also been targeted. Ports and shipping hubs like Fujairah have been struck. Oil refineries, depots have been struck. And that has sent the price of crude on a seesaw for all of the last 18 days. Airports have been targeted as well. Airspace was temporarily closed. Airports have been temporarily closed, including that at Dubai. Vessels near the Strait of Hormuz have also been struck. They have been stuck there as well for the last 18 days because Iran decided to close the Strait of Hormuz. They used that as leverage. The result of which that 1 million barrels per day oil crude has been blocked in that entire region. So let's open this up. Ashok Sajjanhar, former Indian diplomat, is with us. Milad Rabbani, former Iranian diplomat, and Professor Peter Kuznick, author and professor of history at the American University, is with us as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on CNN News 18. Professor Kuznick, let me begin by asking you, was Donald Trump blindsided, or did he just not see this coming? Was he blind to the fact that Iran would have retaliated?
Donald Trump was not blindsided. He was blind-brained. He was urged to do this by Netanyahu. Netanyahu has been warning since the early 1990s that Iran is a week away or 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. He's tried to get every American president to do this, but no American president before Donald Trump was stupid enough, ignorant enough, blind enough to do this. So now we're in a mess. We're in a total quagmire. And what does Donald Trump have left? He's imploring, he's demanding that...
Το Network Foundation είναι επιτυχία Πανελλήνης.
There was a popular song in the United States a couple decades ago called Take This Job and Shove It. Now U.S. allies in China are saying to Donald Trump, take this war and shove it, because they know it's an illegal, immoral, stupid, unnecessary war done in Israel's interests that nobody in the world supports and nobody in the United States supports except a handful of Trump supporting zealots. Even Trump's base here, his MAGA base, people like Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Steve Bannon and other Trump supporters say this is absurd. But now anything is possible, including the use of nuclear weapons, because the United States is backed into a corner and Trump is desperate.
But he says we had to do what we had to do. I mean, he hinted that even if we had known that there were these risks, then we would have gone ahead in any case. Does he now want his allies in these friendly countries, as he calls them, left hanging to dry? And what are they to do for a war that they didn't start or ask for?
Trump lies constantly. That's his modus operandi. The Washington Post tracked more than 20,000 lies in his first term in office. You can't believe anything he says. He says that a former president told him that he admires Trump for what Trump did, and this former president wishes that he had done the same thing. Well, we think that the former president he's talking about is Trump himself, because Trump was the only former president. Every other former president says, no, they didn't speak to Trump about this. So Trump probably looked in the bathroom mirror and talked to himself. And Trump said, yes, I wish I had done this during my first term in office. This is a deranged man. He's delusional. 61% of Americans in the latest poll said they think he is slipping mentally, that he's not as sharp as he used to be. Well, he never was very sharp, but he is definitely delusional and losing his mind. And the United States has either got to use the 25th Amendment to get him out of there before he starts a world war, or he's got to be impeached. We do need regime change in Jerusalem and in Washington. We need regime change before this gets even worse than it is now.
But it doesn't look like either sides are backing out. Milad Rabbani, as far as Iran is concerned, of course, they have felt the heat. We did see the initial strikes where the Iranian leadership was pretty much wiped out. There are reports that Ali Larijani has also been eliminated, or at least that's what Israel is claiming now. So there is some amount of impact that this campaign by the United States and Israel has had on Iran. For how long can Iran go on? They have given a tough fight for 18 days, but for how long?
Thank you for having me. And it's a very good question. Honestly, no one knows when this war will be ended. And I want to tell you, first of all, everyone, at least every wise person, condemn war and killing other people, genocide, war, are condemned in the common sense. But now we are observing that Donald Trump and Netanyahu attacked Iran, and Iran is under attack. No one knows when the war will be ended. But I want to tell you something about the Iranian regime. If this regime can survive this war, no one can stop them. And, they have a voracious appetite to killing people. I live in the Middle East and in Iran, and I feel it with all of my skin and blood. And I know what kind of creature is this regime. Some civilians are casualties of this war, and I strongly condemn this. I don't like my countrymen to be civilian died in this war, and no one likes. But let me take you something into your consideration. Now, Iranian people are not so sad with this because they lived in the regime, and they have the hope for regime change. And now the interests of Donald Trump, Netanyahu, and Iranian people are in one line. And as you mentioned, they killed Larijani and one of the head of the Basij officers is a militia. And now there is two targets for Israel to kill. Mohammad Bagher Qalibaf and Mujtaba Khamenei, I believe, and Radan, and yes, the General Radan. And after if Israel managed to kill them, that I believe they will do that. In a few days, we will see that. In that time, there is a vacancy of power in Iran because all the high rank commanders will be died. And the Trump count on Iranian people. And that's an election for Iranian people. If the Iranian people come to the streets, we will see the collapse of the regime. But if the Iranian people refuse to come, I believe they will come because of some evidence. But if they don't come, Trump is the loser of this war, and Netanyahu, they lost the war because they cannot kill. In that time, they have to attack the civilian. Up to now, they mostly concentrated on military forces.
Sure.
And there is an international principle of distinction. Iranian regime has no respect for principle of distinction. They put their military bases exactly near the people because they want to use Iranian, because they don't care about Iranian lives. You know, a month ago, between 30,000 to 50,000 Iranian people were massacred in 2 days. It's a record in the war. You know, in 1 or 2 days, just go and see what was the number
But
of people.
what's to say that the individual who is someone that is approved, so to say, by Israel and the United States is someone that is meant to be at the helm of affairs in Iran, is someone that can actually take forward the country and is meant and is right for the people. Who's to say that is going to happen?
After the collapse, after the regime collapse, you mean?
Yes. I mean, if that's the goal, as Trump states.
I'm not me nor Mr. Trump. We are not in the position to say who will rule. This is what Iranian people will choose. At least I have one vote. As a one vote, I can't say I can vote to the person I want. But
Sure.
the next Iranian regime will face the matter of legitimacy unless they respect the three principles: principle of secularism, principle of republic, and the principle of generations, the right of generations to choose their government.
Sure.
I mean, when Khomeini came to the power, he resorted to the third one. He said, we are a new generation, we have the right to choose. Okay, but they didn't respect this right for the next generation. And that's why now we see there is conflicts in Iran, and conflicts continues. And the regime, the only thing they have, their last resort is suppression. And now they are in this phase. And the only thing they can do is to suppress the people. And the prisoners in Iran are full. And
Sure.
honestly,
Sure. It's not to say that this the Ayatollah-led regime was being nice to the people of Iran. There was a reason that we saw the kind of protests that we did, but we also did see that outpouring when people did come out after the announcement of Ayatollah Khamenei's assassination. But Ashok Sajjanhar, I want to ask you this: as far as this 18-day war is concerned, did Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu go into this without any strategy? Have they plunged the entire Gulf region and effectively the entire world without actually realizing what the consequences may be?
Yeah, I think
I
thank you very
believe-
much, Poonam. I think their calculations might have been a little different, because Mr. Trump was able to get such an easy walkover in Venezuela. So he thought maybe something similar was possible as far as Iran was concerned, that we would be able to get some people there, some senior officials who are compromised, and they could leave. They might have thought Mr. Pezeshkian is a moderate, Abbas Araghchi is a moderate, so they might come to our side. So that might have been one consideration. The second consideration might have been because I think the whole world was saying that ever since the Iranian regime, Islamic regime came into being in 1979, this was the weakest. After 47 years, this was the weakest. And we had seen that in terms of the protests that had taken place on the streets of Tehran and all the other cities, all cities of Iran, in fact, in January, that, all the people were fed up of the economic hardships, the, depreciation in the real, inflation, joblessness, corruption, governance, everything. People were so they thought it is a weak regime. And then, thirdly, they saw that in June last year, it was not really able to stand up to what Israel was doing, to what the United States was doing, and it did not hit out at the Gulf states. It did not also close the Strait of Hormuz. So I think they were extrapolating, in my view, the United States and Israel were extrapolating from there. Okay, in 47 years, Iran has not blocked the Strait of Hormuz, so it is
Correct.
not going to do that this time. It has not, hit. Meaning, even if Iran had just hit out at the American bases in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Kuwait, in this thing, but Iran has gone much beyond that. It
Yes.
has gone to hitting refineries, airports, residential complexes, commercial complexes, pipelines, all the places. So, this has really, frightened those countries. If you permit one more minute, Poonam, I'd
Sure.
like to refer to what our friend from Iran was saying. And I think he makes a very valid point. If Iran does not stop at this, meaning if it is not defeated, what are the implications? The implications are that it is definitely going to develop a nuclear bomb. This is, I think a given. This is because you see, if America has not been able to stop it, and there are other countries, there's Russia, there is China, they will definitely come to their aid. The second is that the Gulf states, they will be under the shadow of this hegemony. Not hitting back at Iran because they are very apprehensive that once this war comes to an end, they will be at the receiving end in a much bigger way if Iran is able to survive, the Iranian regime is going to survive. So Iran will emerge as the hegemon, unchallenged, unquestioned hegemon of this region. So it would be in the interest, meaning I take the point what Mr. Peter Kuznets said, that the manner in which the war was started. But now that the war has started, if the Iranian regime continues, then I think it is going to spell doom for the region and also for nuclear proliferation. Because if Iran gets the nuclear weapon, who is to stop Saudi Arabia? Who's to stop Turkey? And there is going to be sort of, all the countries for their
Sure.
own protection will seek the nuclear umbrella.
But for now, for their own protection, they are seeking the allies to come out and help. And Professor Kuznik, I want to talk to you about the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, Donald Trump is trying to build this coalition to free up the Strait of Hormuz because, again, this is one of the other miscalculations that he made. He never thought that that would be used as leverage by Iran and it would be completely shut. But what happens next? I mean, nobody wants to be a part of this coalition and actually go to war alongside the United States. Most of the allies, Germany, the United Kingdom, France, have all said no. We won't send our
Australia.
troops.
Yes, Trump says he wants U.S. allies in the strait. U.S. allies say they want Trump in a straitjacket. They think Trump is crazy right now. And that's what many of us are fearful about. I disagree with my colleagues to a certain extent. I mean, I don't like the Iranian theocracy either. But this idea that Iran is going to race for a nuclear weapon might be true because, what the lesson that the world has learned, and they learned this in Iraq in 2003, they learned this in Libya in 2011, they learned this in Syria, they're learning it again in Venezuela, and they're learning it again in Iran. If you don't have a nuclear weapon, the U.S. will invade you and will kill your leaders or kidnap your leaders and just dominate and steal your resources. So the message that's being sent is you have to have a nuclear weapon in order for the U.S. not to invade you. Even Greenland is very, very frightening. But this is the craziness that Donald Trump has unleashed in the region. The Iranians were nowhere near a nuclear weapon. Those were Trump's lies. According to the CIA, Iran gave up its nuclear program in 2003. under the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that Obama negotiated, Iran could only enrich up to 3.67%,
Yes.
which the IAEA said it was the most surveilled, investigated country ever in history. They had investigators going in there without any warning constantly. And they said Iran was not developing a nuclear weapon. And they still, even now, the U.S. bombed. Trump said that their nuclear program was obliterated and the nuclear highly enriched uranium was buried there. But Trump was the one who blew up the Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA. Trump is the one who bombed them. And now, based on lies, the United States is involved in this war at Netanyahu's bidding and Netanyahu's urging. This is craziness, and we have to stop it before it escalates to an entirely new level. I'm not happy
Unfortunately,
about.
it's already escalated to the levels that clearly the United States didn't expect it to, and the world didn't expect to see it either. But Ashok Sajanan, I also do want to talk about the India impact that this could have. I mean, the kind of impact that we have seen on the Gulf nations, on the Arab neighbors of Iran, and that could continue. I mean, tomorrow, Israel and United States could backtrack and leave whether their so-called objectives are fulfilled or not. But it is those Arab countries that are neighbors with Iran, they will have to bear the brunt. Would that also mean that India could eventually see that domino effect in terms of trade, in terms of the expats that live there in these countries?
No, you're absolutely right. I think we have 10 million people there. So, if there is a problem, those economies are booming. That is why our people are there. And if their economies, meaning if the security is not there, then, with the security, all the stability and prosperity that goes out of the window. And so, you will not have those people living there any longer. They will come out. And what do we do as far as, in terms of the repatriation, evacuation? Then, energy, we know that about 40% of our oil requirements come from that region.
Yes.
About 45% of our gas, LPG, we've been seeing what the problems are. Then huge amounts of investment, whether it is the United Arab Emirates, it's told us $75 billion of investment going into our infrastructure. It is Saudi Arabia also coming there. United Arab Emirates is our third largest trading partner. It is my second largest export destination, next only to the United States. Saudi Arabia is my fourth largest trading partner. So, the point I'm making is it's $200 billion of trade in that region. 10 million people, 40% gas, 40% oil. Our dependence on that region, on the security of that region is huge. And if you permit one last point that I'll make, if Iran stays like this and it develops a nuclear weapon, what is its avowed policy as far as Israel is concerned? That we are going to wipe it off the map. So, if Iran also wants its security, which is good, meaning I have no issue with that. But I think it should also be willing to concede that other countries also have to have a right to live in peace and security. And, if your avowed national policy, foreign policy is that you are going to sort of, bomb another country, and if you get a nuclear weapon, then, everyone can imagine. Meaning they keep on chanting
Sure.
death to America, death to Israel. But where is this all going to lead to? Poonam.
Mr. Rabbani, where do you think this is going to lead to? I mean, even if the war ends, even if United States and Israel in the near future declares that, okay, our set objectives are met, so we are walking out of this, is this something that could flare up at any given moment?
With this situation and with this new leader, it is absolutely a defeat for Netanyahu and Trump if they withdraw from this war without any achievement. Because now the achievement is chaos in the region. I believe the Trump counted on the street movements after that.
Speaking of miscalculation,